named Zacchaeus. The name Zacchaeus means righteous, pure, or innocent. We are also told that he was a tax collector, not just tax collector, but a rich man. Tax collection was a very lucrative business in Rome during the period the incident here took place. The Romans had a system of taxation known as tax farm. In this system of taxation, contractors were given contracts to collect tax from the people. The contractors now employ people who collect tax on their behalf. Now the problem was this. When the government tells them how much to collect, they pad and now added their own. Hence, it became a very lucrative business to the point that the tax collectors were so rich. And for Zacchaeus, a chief tax collector, he was extremely rich. Beyond being rich, the people regarded tax collectors as sinners. They regarded tax collectors as corrupt system of people, an unclean set of people. And because of that, they never rated them well. They saw them as people who are not to be trusted. Now, look at the irony. Zacchaeus, whose name simply means righteous, found himself in a business that may be regarded as a very bad business. A man whose name means righteous now gets into business that is known as business of sinners and was referred as a sinner. That simply means that it is not how good your name is that portrays you as a Christian. You can have the best name ever. It does not make you a Christian. A name does not save anyone. Sometimes we have people who have very good Christian names, but they are worst and they never knew Christ. They have never come to terms with Christ. Their names are almost opposite of whom they were. So because of this profession, he was not seen as a good person. Now, beyond this profession, though he had his money, Zacchaeus had something that was missing in his life, and that was Christ. He couldn't get satisfaction in his wealth. He couldn't get satisfaction in his business. As good as the business was to him, as lucrative as it was, and as wealthy as he was, there was something that was so lacking, and that is Christ. Not just that it was lacking, he felt the lack, he felt the need to see Christ. And he began to make several efforts to see Christ. In fact, when Jesus Christ was passing, he had heard so much about Jesus Christ, and he wished to see Jesus Christ in person. So there was a vacuum the absence of Jesus Christ created in his life. The fact that he didn't have knowledge of Christ was a serious problem to him. And he was looking for opportunities to encounter Christ. And when opportunity presented itself, which was Jesus passing through Jericho, this man sought for ways to reach out to Christ, to have this encounter with Christ. But then there were impediments. Here we have two obstacles that attempted to hinder him from seeing Christ. One was external and the second one was eternal. External was the crowd. The crowd was so massive, he wanted to, but he could not. Every unbeliever has these two categories of obstacle, both external and eternal. For you today, your own external obstacle may not be the crowd, but then what is your own external obstacle? For Zacchaeus, his own was crowd. Yours could also be this, the environment you find yourself in. It could be peer pressure. If I accept Christ now, what would my friends do? I have found myself among friends who don't want Christ to be mentioned. Could be your business, could be your job. It could also be your success. Sometimes it could be your academic qualifications. Some of these things have served as impediments. Sometimes, for instance, your knowledge of a particular subject can actually puff you up and hinder you from seeing Christ. What is your own external impediment? It could be your family background. In your family, nobody is a Christian. You have your religion, you have this in your home, you have, this is our family tradition, and because you believe it's your family tradition, you don't want to violate the family tradition. This is our custom in our family. It can also be your business. Perhaps you find yourself in a business that is not right. How will I do if I leave this business? How will I survive? Sometimes it could be career. You want to do everything to make sure that you have your career progression, and because of that, you feel that you don't need Jesus. It can also be your place of worship. My family belongs to this church. If I leave this place of worship, what will I? No, we cannot. And your place of worship is not leading you to Christ. You feel something is missing, you feel something is wrong in you, but then every attempt you make, there is that obstacle. Another obstacle is internal, which is the short stature. And of course, every unbeliever has a short stature. For Zacchaeus, it was a physical short stature. He was physically short. That shouldn't have been a problem because that was his nature. He was a short man. But you see, even nature could be an obstacle. Your beauty, your brain, pride, some of these things might serve as an impediment to coming to Christ. Sometimes when you look at them, well, look at me, I am this, and before you know, you are there struggling. You know you need Christ, but you don't know how to find Christ. You make some attempts. There are a lot of pressures on you. There are a lot of pressures weighing you down. It could be your social status. It could be your influence. You perhaps have global influence. Now, despite all these challenges, all these obstacles, Zacchaeus had to pull through. Since the crowd could not allow him to see Jesus, since his small stature was a problem to him, since he had internal challenges, he had external challenges, and those things were hindering him from seeing Jesus, he pulled out immediately because he wanted to see Jesus, he wanted to know Jesus. He had to run. Now climb the sycamore tree. And you know what? Luke deliberately mentioned sycamore tree. Luke would have said he climbed a tree. But he said he climbed a sycamore tree. Why a sycamore tree? Sycamore tree wasn't a very tall kind of tree, but then it had branches. It was not such a very tall tree. Of course, that is the kind of tree that somebody as short as Zacchaeus can actually climb easily. You see the efforts he made? What is that your challenge? What are those your predicaments? What are those things you are looking at and you feel you cannot leave them? You feel those things that are keeping you away from Christ, those things that are keeping you from knowing Christ, your business, your work, your friends, your political status, your social status, your relevance, your influence and affluence. All those things keeping you away from Christ. It could also be one relationship you are into. It could also be your group of friends that are keeping you away. What is that keeping you away from knowing Christ? Join us in the next episode as we'll explore how salvation met Zacchaeus.